Hello everybody, it's me, Nate, aka Devil Dog, and guess what? I got myself an advanced early screening to go see Sonic the Hedgehog 2. That's right. Ooh, wow, looks like it starts less than 5 minutes. I better hurry up and get there. Hello everybody, it's me, Nate, aka Devil Dog, and I'm back with another movie review. This time I'm reviewing an advanced screening version of Sonic the Hedgehog 2, the movie. That's right, I was able to go and actually get to see this movie early, but for the rest of you people, it will launch in theaters on April 8th of 2022. This will be a spoiler-free review, so don't worry, I'm not going to ruin this movie for you in any way at all, mainly because I found it rather entertaining movie. Now, let's get straight to the point with a very brief synopsis so I don't ruin the plot and what happens in it, but get to my personal thoughts of this flick, this sequel, if I think it was better than the first, worse, or about the same. First of all, this is a direct sequel to the 2020 hit, and pretty much all the people return in this with a couple new ones, which you already know because they've been promoting the crap out of this movie. I'm sure you probably seen some of the ads in the Super Bowl and everything like that, but all the people reprise their roles as their main characters. Also with Idris Elba, I can never say his name right, as Knuckles, and they even got the lady that does the voice of Tails to actually do the voice of Tails. So when you hear Tails talking, it's actually Tails, which I at first I'm like, that sounds a little too good. I'm like, oh my God, that's actually her. So that's actually pretty good. Her, him, whatever. I don't know. I think it's a lady. I don't know. But as for the briefest plot synopsis I can do for this without spoiling anything, after Sonic, is at home on Earth with his new family and stuff, naturally Dr. Eggman figures out a way of how to get off the mushroom planet from the end of the last movie and teams up with Knuckles, and it's their quest to try to find the Master Emerald. And so Sonic and Tails team up in order to try to stop them and get to the Master Emerald first. And along the way, a bunch of stuff happens, bunch of fights, bunch of action set pieces, stuff like that. Now, there is an end scene, which after the credits, so make sure you stay for the end scene, which oddly enough, people in the crowd were cheering for this. But the problem is I kind of seen it a mile away, so I was like, That person's like, you don't think that's cool? I'm like, I'm not saying I don't think it's cool, because I'm a huge Sonic fan. I mean, let's see if you guys can see the 3 Sonic the Hedgehog items I have around me at the moment. But nonetheless, honestly, I think it might cast a shadow on the future movies. That's all I'm going to say about that. But let's get straight to the other point. I think Jim Carrey, he came out and said that this is probably his last movie, and I think it's a shame because I really think he finally found the Dr. Eggman character brilliant in this. He actually looks like him now. He's bald. He's got the big mustache, and naturally, he's just as evil and conniving as ever with all of his robots he builds, and also the fact he's teaming up with Knuckles, which actually for the plot kind of makes sense. The movie's got tons of fights in it, unlike the first one, which basically was just a buddy adventure movie of them traveling, a traveling adventure, which made no sense to me because Sonic could have just ran across the water and went to San Francisco or whatever. He would have been able to figure out how to get there, but they made an excuse to where he rode in a car. But nonetheless, besides the point, it was still an entertaining movie. This one focuses heavily on going to locations, getting into epic, boss battle fights and stuff like that, which I actually did appreciate because he does stay true. Jeff Fowler, it's a director, stays very, very true to the video games. In fact, a little bit too much in terms of staying true to the video games, and I'll get to that in a minute. This movie has way better effects. The CGI I thought was a lot better than the first one, and considering this other movie only came out a couple years back, well, it was a little longer than that because of delays and stuff, but nonetheless, honestly, visually, it's very, very visually appealing. Bright, solid colors, great CGI. All the characters look like the characters from the games. Some of the levels look, some of the locations they go to look straight out of, the games and stuff. Honestly, it's really, really good. But this is one of the faults I have to say. I can't sit here and tell you about this movie and not tell you about its faults. It does have some pretty glaring issues. And the fact of the matter is they stay a little too true to the games. So yes, the average person going to see the Sonic the Hedgehog movies are avid fans who have played most, or if not all, the games several times and know the characters and the deep lore of the universe. And they kind of expect you to know that in this. So if you go in just not knowing what Sonic the Hedgehog is other than a game but not really playing it, you ain't going to understand any of this, really. I mean, honestly, you need to know the games and the lore and the stories in order to really kind of follow this plot, what's going along, because they don't really explain it. They do a very bad part of explaining anything. They just throw you into this and expect you to figure it out. So keep that in mind. So if you have little kids with you or something, they'll still be entertained. But unless you're an avid, diehard Sonic the Hedgehog fan, you're not going to really understand most of this crap that's going on. It's just going to sound like, MacGuffin Fest 97. It really is bad. And that's also where it comes down to, like, the handling of Tails. They do a very bad job of explaining why Tails shows up and is able to find Sonic the Hedgehog in this movie. That I had a big problem with. It bothered me because, especially with them being the end credit scene of the first movie, you would think that they would have a little bit bigger... Oh, Sad, would you stop? Cat's going nuts. But you would think that they would have a better explanation of how Tails and his equipment and everything, how he's able to get there and help him, but they don't really. They just kind of sidestep it, which is a really disappointment. And it's the same thing with the Emerald thing. It's just like they should have done a little better with that. But like I said, other than that, it's got lots of game lore they expect you to know when watching this flick. And the other main problem is this movie is very long. It clocked in at well over a couple hours. It's like the endgame version of Sonic the Hedgehog. I don't know what they were thinking with this because there's lots of beat pats that make sense. And then there's certain story sequences that come out of nowhere that don't really fit with the movie that just seem like long exposition, just padding. And they don't add anything to the story. Now, even if you have an exposition dump, which I'm not a fan of in films, as long as it gets a lot of information out, it may be overwhelming, but at least it serves a purpose. In this, these extra parts do not. There's probably about close to an hour of stuff they could cut out of this movie and it wouldn't affect the movie. It's nothing more than an ability to get like characters together in an area, just have them do stupid jokes, fart jokes, stuff like that. And they could have cut that out. And yes, I know this is a kid's movie, but if it's a kid's movie, don't you think you want to have it shorter and more fastly paced so the kids are entertained all the way through? Because as me, as an adult seeing this, I can look back and go, yeah, I think they could have took this out. They could have taken this out. There's lots of parts in this where it's overly bloated that didn't need to be in the movie. That's just my own personal feeling on that. And the problem is also with this is I understand this is a PG movie for children and fans, but it goes heavily into the part of being a kids movie. It's gotten almost to Looney Tunes, cartoon style action. There's, the first movie had a lot of physics things that just wouldn't work, but it was still somewhat grounded in the real world. I can't really say that for this one. This one goes like just ham-fisted, like Looney Tunes, like Wile E. Coyote style physics, okay? And while it doesn't destroy the movie in any way, but I'm like, okay, I get it, you're trying to go towards kids. But if you're pandering to little kids with all this weird, wacky stuff, then why are you having such a convoluted plot that requires them to know all this deep lore of the Sonic the Hedgehog universe? I think that was a bit much. Really, it is. I mean, even the critics are, I'm sure the fans are going to love the movie because there's so much fan service in this. The fans are going to eat this up. People there were cheering their butts off through just about every scene in the movie. But the critics so far have given it a 63% on Rotten Tomatoes, mainly because the critics are going by if it's a good movie or not. That has a good pacing, good story, explanation, and all that. And no, it don't. It don't. But it's a fun, entertaining, visually appealing movie. Hands down, Idris Elba is a great Knuckles. Like I said, the Tails voice actor spot on. All the other people returning comes back. They do a fantastic job. Ben Schwartz, or whatever his name is, who does Sonic the Hedgehog, is a little more annoying this time because he's constantly doing silly quips like every 2 seconds. Joke here, joke there. But other than that, you kind of get what what you're going to get with this movie. It is a ultimate fan service sequel to the first one, adds a lot more of the game, in fact, too much of the game, with not really having explanations to it, has a pretty decent ending and a pretty decent end scene. Make sure to stay for the end scene, and I don't know, but hopefully it will not cast a shadow on the future of the series. I heard they're going to have a spinoff for Tails or something. But in the end, that's my personal spoiler-free review of Sonic the Hedgehog 2. When you get to go see this movie, let me know in the comments below if you liked it better than the first, if there were certain parts that you thought were worse, certain parts that you thought were better. Did you think the voice acting was better? Did you think the plot was too overly complicated? Could it have had some trimmed out? What are your personal thoughts? Leave it in the comments below and I'll answer each and every single one of them. And remember, I always end my videos by saying, have fun, play hard, and remember, people, the devil is in the details. Peace out until next time.